output. And the boys season is having a successful season with stats of 6 and 2. Next week, administration as well as the counselor will meet with all 12th graders in their econ and government classes to distribute and discuss their senior handbook, which includes many activities and events such as grad night, prom, senior breakfast, finals, and AP tests. Next week, during the month of April, 9th, 10th, and 11th graders will begin to register for classes for fall of 2014. Students are beginning to prepare for AP tests coming up in May. The WASP will be visiting from April 6th to the 9th. CASI testing finished, and we're now waiting for the results. The computer lab has been completed, and many classes such as math and yearbook have been using the facility daily. And the National Honor Society is preparing their group project to collect iPods to benefit the Music and Memory Foundation. This foundation collects iPods for people with Alzheimer's with the hopes that it will help patients gain some happy memories. NHS will be collecting iPods during the month of April through the middle of May. And lastly, next week, ASB will be hosting a Spirit Week, followed by a pep rally to boost school spirit before we go on to spring break.
Very good. 8.4, new construction.
Actually, I do, if I can. I'd like to give you a little progress report, and then also, if you take a look on your agenda tonight, there's 3 different agenda items, and I want to kind of pool them all together and talk to you a little bit about the previous ones, just to make sure that you know where we're at. So we have several different agenda items that we passed last week and this week, whether they're DSA inspectors, implant inspectors, etc. I'll talk about it when we get to those. But I wanted to kind of give you an idea of where we were in terms of budget. The bio piece, the biology monitoring, it was over. On DSA implant welding, and it was under, meaning under budget, and meaning what we calculated. The total calculation was exactly a little bit over, a little bit under on a couple of these. And then implant inspection, the net was basically a 0. So right now, again, what we were trying to do, and we're still actually well under our budget projection so that we can afford the facade that we presented at the previous meeting. And as we get closer, we start to break around, and whether or not we use those contingencies that have been built in there, we'll be able to tell you whether or not we can go ahead with that. However, we are moving forward with the engineering of it. We will build the footings. We'll take care of everything in preparation for it. There may be some additional cost if we don't go with it, only because of roofing and different structures that may need to be built to kind of button it up until we can afford part 2. But it is being engineered right now, and everything should be a go on that particular piece. Any questions on that? I just want to give you a brief update. I mean, these guys are going fast. I'm really impressed with them so far. They're doing a fantastic job. Yeah, I mean, we're indeed, you know, everything's being engineered right away. One of the things I think is fantastic about them, if you remember right, we had budgeted for the pre-service construction agreement. They used $9,000. So, you know, they weren't in it in that piece. Now, yes, obviously they're going to be making a profit on this particular job, but they've been very, very generous and very responsive in terms of that, quite frequently. Mike.
Well, I do, because I actually,
yeah, please.
With all the things bring forward, I just put the actuals in over the budget projection. So I know the inspector of record was budgeted at 185 and then came in last time on 313 and 176. I'm just trying to line them up correctly when I go astray. The in-plan inspector is shown at 50, and I think that's what you are bringing forward tonight.
That's correct.
55.2.
Yeah.
The biologist is over, as you said.
Yes.
Then I'm a little lost. What you're also bringing tonight, the DSA inspector for 34 and a half. What line is that going against?
That's probably under special inspections because it's the welds. And so there's an implant welding inspector. Because of the steel that's involved in the particular buildings, each of the buildings have to have the welds inspected.
That's standard.
And it may be under a special inspection.
I'm just looking for the special inspection.
There should be a line item for
there
special.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right. And then lastly, And you told me last week, but my notes weren't good enough.
But it's okay.
Earth Systems came in at 75, and which line was that under?
That would be under,
Every week.
It's towards the bottom.
I can't remember, but it doesn't say Earth Systems.
I
It's
know.
because it's, they also do special inspections, but there's also soils reports, different things that are required.
It's not the
Like,
nearest-
I can't
nearest
remember, I
branch is
thought,
that
I
number.
had given it to you last week, I can't honestly remember, but I can look it up and get it back.
Yeah,
to you.
maybe just shoot me an email.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so that, as far as the construction piece goes, I wanted to also kind of, it's connected in some ways, indirectly, but potentially directly, is I'm also, if you remember, we had talked a lot about this developer fee study. We do have RFPs on the street right now, which are requests for proposals. We have 5 different companies that we've solicited a proposal from. We have 2 of them back already. I've met with a couple different companies to talk about what that might be. I may bring the successful candidate back to talk to you. There are specific parameters we're going to need to talk about in order to design the study. Level 1, 2, and 3, and what you're looking for, what you want as a board. And so, again, I just wanted to let you know that's in process, and whether or not we're even eligible to establish different levels and things. So until I can get that, the developer fee proposal on the table, I really won't know. But I should have some additional information. The fee proposals go through the end of the month, and then we'll sit down and vet each one of those and bring back to you a process, a protocol for you to follow, and then we can have that discussion and give direction moving forward.
Now, SAB allocates money on every other year of rotations. Are we within an allocation year?
I believe so, but it depends on when you do the study, and from what I understand, it depends. There's several different criteria, Mark, but the reason why I say that is because we just got recertified, and the SAB did put us on the list as on the unfunded list, indicating that we were in an allocation. So, but I did talk to CFW as well, and he wasn't sure. So I've heard both, to be honest with you, is why I'm a little uncertain.
Okay. Yeah, I would hate to do a study and have it be outdated.
Well, and that's part of the criteria is we go through the RFP and we interview them. We're going to interview all the candidates that submit a proposal, and those are some of the questions we're going to ask.
Okay.
Even if we do a study, is it legitimate and eligible to stick?
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if we can qualify for level 2 since we passed on it.
Well, CFW thought you might be able to even go to level 3.
Really?
Yeah. But hey, that's something you're going to have to decide, and that's it's significant, as you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So we'll talk about that when the time comes.
We had passed 8.1, but our AATA president wasn't here. I now see him in the room. Did you have anything, Kim?
No, just, sorry for the late arrival. I just wanted to thank Dr. Woodard. We had a spirited conversation on Tuesday, I believe. Went on for quite some time. We were going back and forth and having some ideas. And it was a good opportunity for us to exchange concerns that we have for what the district's doing and where we're going, and to try to get our group in alignment with what the goals of the district are and so forth and so on. So we had back and forth, and we came pretty close. I think we're really close to coming to something where we can go to our members and offer a TA. We have one obstacle that I think we've talked about, and one that we passionately believe in, and that's the transitional accelerated calendar, which is, I think we'd like to invite the board to consider that. I think that's the only obstacle that we have in front of us now, and so we're trying to blend it, to move it over a 2-year period instead of all at one time, and we're moving to move 5 days off the end of the calendar year this year, and we'll start 5 days early. It'll kind of give us a test run, because we really believe that that's going to benefit the students. It's going to be inconvenient for everybody, staff, students, parents, community, everybody, but it's the first thing is it's going to help the students out. So I think that's the one thing that we're still discussing, and we're hopeful that we're inviting the board that we hope to take a look at that and provide the superintendent some instruction, and hopefully we can move forward with that. Thanks.
Mr. Jorgensen?
Yeah.
Could you just quickly touch on the benefits that calendar has for the students? I've heard the board just...
Okay. Sure. Well, it's primarily for our high school students. I mean, they're the ones that are going to reap the benefit of it, because we're going to put them on a playing field with all the surrounding schools. Our kids that are going to go on to education, their official transcripts will be ready early, so they can apply for scholarships and applications, early enrollment in some schools. So it's going to be a benefit for the high school students primarily. I know I talked with a parent in our PTSO who's on board that they want the new calendar. Before she was opposed, but now that her child is in the high school, she's realizing, wait a minute, I can see the advantage that my son or daughter is going to be on that level playing field with the schools that challenge us from the south and to the northeast. That it just gives them that opportunity for acceleration in schools when they want to go to college. Their official transcript will be ready at the end of the first semester, which would end prior to Christmas break. We would come back and start right after holiday break, first semester, rather than having that 2-week, 3-week crunch time for finals and try to get everybody back in the sync. It frees up time for AP and testing, and then the new testing, the assessments by the state that's still in chaos. And I know the site administrators and everybody's working hard to try to balance that. We don't know what that's going to be and how much instruction time that's going to encumber. But if we can finish that semester at the end, before we go on holiday break, when we come back, the kids are all straight away. We know we're starting right off on the fresh semester. And we believe that it's going to encourage some students to transfer in because they don't have to sit around and wait for 3 weeks for the semester to begin when they want to transfer, because their school's done. And if they want to come to our school and transfer in here for whatever opportunity, we have some programs we're trying to develop. We have athletics that we want to get some B-grade athletes to come over here that they can't compete with the 5,000 student campus, but they can be quite successful in our 400 student campus and our level division of competition. So there's advantages there, and and as they go through this process, we're just giving them opportunity. If they're not going to go to college and they're going to go to work, they're able to get out and get in that summer application pool because their school's going to end a little bit earlier, so they're not, I'm sorry, that job's already filled. There's just a lot of things about the mindset, and so we're not playing catch up to our bigger schools to the north and south of us. We're kind of like on the forefront. We're right there. We're giving our kids every opportunity right up front.
Now, initially, when these other schools went to that calendar, do you know what the reason for that was initially, when they first did it? Obviously, everything is now geared towards that.
I think it's driven more by the colleges than the high schools. I don't think the high schools were the driving force behind this. The colleges were accelerating. They were kind of like getting in the groove and trying to get into the application process, filling classes. I know I talked to some students that by the time they got their transcript and got ready to go sign up for a class, I'm sorry, it's full. Now you'll have to wait and see if it's open. And it just gives them that opportunity.
I'm sorry, the rest of the country, because I moved here when I was in school. California's always kind of been skewed because of our weather. The rest of the country starts earlier and ends earlier and is more on that calendar. And many of the districts around us, because of that and things you're saying, have decided to skew with the rest of the country.
And even, like Albert Einstein wants to move to an accelerated calendar. That's the way they run it because they know it gives them the competition, puts their kids out there on the level playing field. And we're their last contact when we want them to go on to continuing education and want them to get into their careers and all the things that we're gearing up for. I think this is one of those no-cost options for us that we can go ahead and do this for those kids and really get them on board and have that opportunity. So we're ready.
Yeah, I've always been more traditional about all this. That's how I grew up going to school, and we always had after Labor Day. So my thinking has always been geared in that way, but I didn't know. I've been told all this, but you articulated it
Well,
very well.
we did a research, we did some study, we talked to our colleagues around the different schools, and we talked to some admissions counselors at the different colleges that our kids go to, and we produced a list. I'll be glad to provide that to you. It shows, it ticks down all of the articulated things that gives them an advantage, and primarily for us, we're struggling with enrollment, and if it can entice 5 kids to come and join our school, well, there's 5 kids that now they can take a break from their large, overcrowded high schools to come and enjoy some of the programs that we have. And I had a good conversation with Mr. Distaso too as well about one of our tools is athletics. I mean, we have many kids who get over there and they sit on the bench and never play, but they're good athletes and good students. They can come here and they can be a competitive and help our programs grow.
It appears that it used to be that 80–90% of parents want the traditional way, and now it's changed. It appears that's changed to.
I think over time it's evolved.
And then
Yeah.
I had previously some concerns that some parents really wanted this calendar so badly they might leave on the lower level of grades. But it appears that on the lower grades, we have other issues far bigger than this.
And I think that's a conversation that's always going to be there. I mean, you know, it's one of those things, but then in the end, when we throw the chips up in the air, we want most of the chips to land in the air where the students are. The last contact we have for our students, to send them out in the community and go to college and go on to do the things, that's where I hope most of the chips land, rather than spread all over the place.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I would make a comment, Mr. Jorgensen, and that is that I totally changed my view in the sense 6 years ago when I came on this board. I was totally in favor of the traditional calendar for a number of reasons. And at that point in time, I believe we had questionnaires sent out to the community. I don't know if it was only the parents or more of the community and parents, and it was in favor of the traditional calendar. But then we had, I believe, a subsequent, Brent knows more about this than I do, questionnaire sent out that went just the other way, also leaning toward it. And I will say that when 6 years ago, when I was in favor of it, it was mainly tied in to two things: vacations and the Antelope Valley Fair, that I supported starting after Labor Day. But now that I have 3 grandkids in college and gone through what it took to get them there, and had some more studies and information supplied by your organization and Ty Bo, I'm totally in favor of the earlier school, and because I think it not only to draw the students in, but that's what we need for our students that are competing to get into college, if that's what they desire.
And we've talked to our site administrator, Mr. DeVoe, you know, when the whole 2 years he's been there, he's been very favorable. He knows the advantages of that and he's the administrator that's pushing the kids, and we're guiding them with all the programs. And I talked with Dr. Wood, and we had a very spirited conversation, which I appreciate about that. And that's just one of the things that we're here for our students, and that's one of the things that we'd really like to invite the board to consider, and so we can move on and get on with the other critical issues that we have.
Well, I can only speak for myself,
Yeah,
but
I appreciate
I'm
it.
strongly in favor of the earlier start.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to hear you guys are talking, and it's very important. Hope we get things worked out.
8.5, superintendent comments?
Yes, glad Tim kind of beat me to it, but one of the comments that I wanted to make as well is I greatly appreciate the AATA negotiating team. The time we spent, I mean, even though it was significant, I think very valuable in terms of moving forward on many of the issues that are prevailing across the district. Greatly appreciate your time and effort and energy, and I believe there's a light, if you will, at the end of the tunnel, and I think it's pretty significant. I think obviously there's some low-hanging fruit there we had talked about, trying to harvest some of that right now, which I think we're able to do, but I think at the same time, moving forward, for me, it's all one of optimism, optimistic about the district, the future of the district, the direction of the district, and those are some of the things we're going to have ongoing conversation about how to craft some of those ideas and craft some of those objectives in the vision, so that I can bring them back to the board when we have budget study session or developmental sessions, where we can have a greater participation, if you will, from AATA, and I look forward to that. So thanks again, guys. I appreciate that. Secondly, I wanted to bring to your attention, and I don't see anybody in the audience, unfortunately, from the AD Booster Club, but I don't know if you've noticed recently that they had redone the parking lot. They took out the sawhorses and they put in more fencing. It's really it's appropriate to the region, if you will. A lot of that fencing is used in the area, and I think it looks fantastic, and I greatly appreciate the expenditure they put for that, and they actually did all the work themselves. In addition to what they did with the fencing, they're doing just a small area of pavement from the transition from the street, and just to fill in some potholes and some different things. And Will and I had talked about potentially putting some DG out there, and when and if, again, we're not going to do it now, we're not going to start creating more expenses, but what we're trying to do is assist that process and fill in some of the ruts that when it does rain, it gets pretty ugly over there at Agua Dulce. We want to make sure, again, that we support that facility and we maintain that as best we can. But that was all funded by the Booster Club, so I greatly appreciate their efforts and that as well. Secondly, I wanted to recognize the same situation here at Meadowlark. These mics, the whole system that you see, the upgraded system was all donated by their Booster Club. over here at Meadowlark. And you can see again, it's critical, and unfortunately there isn't any parents here to hear this, but I greatly appreciate the participation of the parents. They contributed a significant amount, and this is supplemental stuff. They didn't, they used this a lot for assemblies, but they also were more than generous in allowing us to use the system and being able to do that. They put a good piece of money and time and effort in upgrading this system. So we're still kind of figuring it out. It's a little quirky, but it's a heck of a lot better than we had before, and I greatly appreciate both of those organizations and their support. And that's pretty much all I had, so thank you.
8.6, board member comments. Mike?
I have just a quickie regarding the sports program. Just happened because I was at one of our track meets a week and a half ago, and hats off to Coach Shelley. There were 40 kids, which is 10% of our student body was participating. And even though we had the largest contingent, it was a small school invitational, I'm always proud when I participate in these things. I participate as a parent. I have 2 kids on the track team, turns out. But at the behavior and the way in which our students handle themselves and our parents, especially when you're the largest group there, it makes me very proud. The kids are good. They did a good job. Good ambassadors for the school system and the community. Yes? Thanks. That's it.
Yeah, I would just like to comment that the agua dulce parking lot, it's amazing what a difference that makes.
Just that little
change.
I think that picture is like unbelievable, isn't it?
It really looks very nice. We have now wood fences, if you haven't been there, as opposed to the kind of traffic barricades we've had for many years.
Yeah.
Looks quite nice.
Ed?
Dr. Woodard, back when, 3 years ago when Sean was at Aadusd, I used to take a tractor out there and spread around some of the gravel and stuff. I'm happy to get some gravel together and things like that.
Well, that's kind of Matt's idea. That's kind of what we were talking about. So
Doesn't take a lot. It's just those
Yeah.
ruts that,
Yeah.
big deep ruts. It only rains once a year around
Yeah.
here, so.
Yeah, just have.
And then it kind of washes it all, so, yeah, but
So,
thank you.
I mean, if you want to have them call me, or I can deal, I mean, you and I just take care of that?
I mean, we just didn't get a,
Tractor out there.
Yeah.
why don't we record it, because he's gonna, I think it'd be good if he could get a big old dump load of DG and
Yeah. Yeah.
There's all kinds of things we can use too, it doesn't have to be DG. There's
whatever.
different stuff, so like A-base and stuff.
You gotta be careful a little bit, and that's kind of why I told you, I wanted to be heavily involved based on the fact that, erosion control, impervious grounds.
Oh, yeah.
There's some construction elements to it, as you well know, so, some of the A-base does have some chemicals in it, you don't want seeping into the groundwater, depends on which, but you know that as well, but I just, be happy to work with you guys and help out as much as I can.
Right, DG is probably the best, it's just expensive.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we'll work something out, I mean, I can dump some stuff there and do something, it's just basically where the roads, I know this spot.
Yeah, and the Booster Club is going to make ongoing improvements, and they're really excited about the school and trying to do some stuff. So, I greatly appreciate your
Looks
time, so if you guys help out, that's
I
fantastic.
used to drive and try and point people to school there, we'd be like, where is it at, That,
Yeah.
those, what do you call them,
I call them sawhorse. I don't know.
So, they used to stand out so
Yeah,
much
they did.
that people couldn't see beyond them.
Yeah.
The only thing I have really is the sound wall at VHS. I'm talking to Scott Wilkes' office now
Okay,
to try and get him to put some pressure on Caltrans.
that's great. I hope it works, because
Yeah,
obviously that school will be up in a year. We need it.
Yep, so that's all I have.
My assumption was that, and I think what might help is if you gave them a copy of the contract that we have.
I did.
It's in play
Yeah,
now.
I did.
And they had talked about that it will move it up in priority as soon as we start construction. Well, we're there, and we do have groundbreaking coming up in May, so.
Yeah, the stuff he gave was very useful, so
Okay, good.
I'm trying to
Okay.
do what I can.
If I can help, let me know.
I will, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. President.
Larry?
No.
The only comments I have is that I wanted to thank Tim for agreeing to meet with me and spending 2.5 hours going over various issues that concerned district. I thought the dialogue was productive. I appreciate the fact that Tim and the superintendent also met to have further dialogue on those discussions. I'm hoping that the AATA will take a vote here regarding some of these proposals so that we can continue to avoid the delay and the cost on both sides for fact-finding and that legal effort. And I've asked the superintendent, regardless of where any potential vote goes, to try and coordinate some additional meetings that involve obviously no more than 2 members of the board, but representation from the board, representation from district administration, and representation from AATA, so that we can continue and expand dialogue in moving forward here. And I wanted to take this opportunity to try and address concerns that teachers have that based on a lack of communication where some have felt that the district was moving in ways that would hurt the teachers union rather than work in ways that could potentially help your membership. And I'll say the same thing that I said to Tim. It's very difficult when you have board meetings like 2 weeks ago where we have to issue slips to everybody to meet kind of this arbitrary deadline, and then that happens, and then we see a conversion of a school to a charter school, and that happens, and after a while the perception is what good is all of this for us, for our working conditions, and for what we're trying to do as part of this school district. And I want to the degree that I can, in a minute that I'm speaking here, is to try and allay those concerns. And I'm obviously can only speak for myself. My hope in this grand scheme is that we're taking the steps, albeit somewhat of concern and potentially controversial. The steps we are taking are designed to do nothing more but to get this district on a solid financial footing and to stabilize our budget so that we can move forward with the ability to expand our programs and not continue to reduce them. And my grand hope would be, especially, it would apply to all schools, but I believe especially the high school, is to take these challenges that we have at this small high school and the limited offerings that we can provide at a small high school, and have enough budget in enough capacity in our budget to expand those programs, to expand AP programs, to expand the offerings that we have, which would allow us to actually hire back teachers instead of continuing to lay them off. And from my perspective, that's the plan that I'm working under, is to get us back where we're in a condition and an atmosphere where, whether it's our CSEA classified employees or our AATA certificated employees, where they're not feeling like they're constantly under the knife. And the best way for us to do that is to step out of the box, which we are doing, in order to create that kind of a grand plan. So I think it's positive that dialogue is occurring. I think it's better occurred here at home instead of some mediator or fact-finding. I think it serves us in a more positive way. It's less costly to everybody. And I see more good coming out of it if we're working in a more combined effort than an adversarial effort. So So with that, let's move on. 9.0 consent agenda. We have 9.1 minutes of the regular board meeting for March 13th and the warrant register. Do we have a move?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Call question?
Aye.
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 10.0, Education Student Services, 10.1, Resolution 13-14.9. I don't know if I ever pronounced this right. Forgive me when I butcher it. Mosaica Online Academy of LA Charter School
Yes.
petition. Do we have a move?
So moved for Mosaic.
A second.
Second.
Doctor?
Board, Mr. President, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the matrix. I just wanted to peruse it one more time and make sure that I saw the right one they did. But there's one insufficiency in this particular petition. We felt like, to be quite honest with you, it's one of the best we've had to date. So I applaud your efforts. I think it's a fantastic petition. This is also a significant size company, meaning it's not just in California. They have footprints quite a bit in different areas across the country. And they're looking to expand also, but we're happy to get potentially in a partnership that has enough capital to be able to support their efforts and be able to kind of, again, move that agenda forward in LA County. So obviously my recommendation is full support and approval of the Mosaic charter petition.
Sure. So, I looked at the matrix and it is apparent that it seems to be one of the higher ranked organizations, and I looked through the material as well. The thing that I didn't understand was there was a lot of NAs there, more than in previous matrices, and mostly to do with, I think, special ed. Is there something different about this structure or this charter that warrants all the NAs?
Well, remember now that we are looking at potentially like independent study models. Depends on, again, whether or not they're in our LEA and under our SELPA, or they choose to go to another SELPA. So whether or not, and so that's kind of the position that we're in right now, and there's a variance there between the two. So as again, if you remember, I don't know if you were here when we approved Einstein, they're under our LEA, so they're our responsibility in our SELPA in Antelope Valley.
And
These folks are not going to be in the Antelope Valley Charter or the SELPA Charter.
Okay, that explains it.
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
predominantly that's the issue. And again, independent study is a whole different animal with special education. It's based on readability studies and some things. So,
But they're choosing not to be in our
Yeah.
so there's a lot more NAs than the rest.
that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion amongst board members? Okay, I can't officially vote for him, so the vote won't reflect his vote, but for the record, Mr. Porter, who has stepped away, has agreed to with adopting the charter school. With that, we'll call a vote of the remaining four board members. Board members, aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. If you have a copy of the agenda, you will see 10.2, 10.3, and 10.4, all in reference to various MOUs regarding the school district and Albert Einstein Academy. Those have been removed from the agenda as we are still working on some limited aspects. Weren't quite ready to bring forward, so they have been removed from the agenda. 11.0, business and financial. 11.1, service agreement with School Services of California. Do we have a move?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Dr. Woodard?
That particular contract is, again, it's a fact-finding contract we're hoping we don't have to implement. I'm hoping that, again, you see there's a dollar value attached to that. It depends on the next few days, some of the progress that we make around that, some of the meetings that we've had prior. We hope that this contract never goes in place. So, but it is with school services, and it is reflective of the fact-finding process. And there's a significant dollar value to it. You see the parameters. Depends on a lot of things. It's per hour.
Okay, so our vote on this is basically in the event of needed services?
Well, part of my problem is the timeline. And there's really, obviously nothing's in stone, nothing's been solved, but, so the timeline keeps ticking. And until and if you don't do that, then you won't meet the timeline by the end of the school year.
Right.
Okay, so my concern is obviously that we have to keep the timeline until it actually is in stone, and there is a signed document, and we have gone forward. So this was scheduled to be on here. I put it on the agenda actually last Friday. Much of the progress that we've made has been in the last few days. So that's kind of why it's still on there, and we need to keep it on there just so that we meet the statutory timeline.
Understood. Understood. I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding about.
I'm hoping to never put it in play.
All right. Comments by board members? Call the question?
Aye.
Aye. So approved. 11.2, management confidential employees changes in the 13-14 work year, 5 furlough days. It is recommended that the board consider approval of proposed changes for 13-14 for management confidential employees to assume 5 furlough days. Do we have a move? A second.
Second.
Dr. Woodard, any
Yeah,
conversation?
real quickly, this particular piece is, and we took it serious, so the comments that they made, all management, it's not just administrators, myself, obviously on this list, it's all management, classified, certificated, have agreed to the 5 furlough days. In addition to that, and again, this is again just a display of good faith on my part, I plan to take 7 furlough days, but I'm going to kick 2 into next year, I'm going to do 5 this year, and then I'll kick another 2 next year, in hopes again that we can continue, and donate that back to the district. So that's going to be my good faith effort. I wanted to, again, appreciate each of you potentially considering 5 days, as well as the administrative staff, and moving forward with that. So that's my intention. But again, I appreciate the administration and all the classified management and all management for readily. They didn't have to. It was, again, they have a contract as well. They didn't have to take, but they did, and they signed. Every administrator, every management personnel signed that document. So that's where we're at currently.
Very well. Conversation by board members. Call the question. Aye. 11.3, professional.
Thank you all.
That we were able to kind of rid that.
So
before
they think
started
this is
nesting.
still in play, even though we removed all the junipers?
It will be throughout the duration, because there's nesting season, and as they nest, and
There's nowhere
if
to
it's-
nest.
yeah, but if there's within so many feet of our PL, property line,
Okay.
I'm telling you, and that includes the road and on the other, it's quite extensive. It's an environmental study that we're required to do.
All I can see, I just got thrown back by the rat.
It's basically a rat. It's a little kangaroo.
It wasn't quite. Okay, fair enough. Is that it, Doctor?
That is, yes.
Anything else by board? Call a question.
Aye.
Aye, so approved. 11.4, professional service agreement, in-plant DSA inspection services. Brandon Leach, DSA inspector. Do we have a move? Move. Second.
Second.
Real quickly, again, this is the one that's under budget, and this is required by DSA. This is a DSA inspector that's in plant, meaning at Bakersfield for JTS modular construction. And they're required to, again, be there in plant while they're constructing our classrooms, and it has to be according to DSA requirements. So we're required to fund that. I got more, so. Doing construction in LA County is just part of the deal.
Well, not if you're a charter school.
That's true.
It's a different story.
That's all
Okay,
different stuff.
call the question.
Aye.
11.5, professional services contract, DC inspections, in-plant welding and testing. Do we have a move? Larry moved. Ed second.
Same scenario as I described before, but again, this is indicative to the welds that, with the metal and the metallurgy that they're constructing at the plant. This particular item is over budget, but the net value is still under budget on all of these items.
Comments by board? Call the question.
Aye.
Aye. someday we're gonna have a shovel.
Yeah, someday. I'm hoping in May, and that's, I didn't talk about that, Mr. President, but we are looking, if you guys have specific dates, we hope, again, towards the end of April, first part of May, to actually have graders, construction equipment all geared up and mobilized by then. And I kind of wanted to wait for the groundbreaking until we saw activity.
Well, that's what the schedule says, though.
It does, but, I mean, it's flexible. We can do it whenever we want, but I wanted to hear your thoughts of when I should start planning that. I've asked Mr. DeVoe to head up that project since it's at his school.
Well, last Friday is already over, so that was our idea.
I know.
He wanted to know the date that we wanted to get started. I said, last Friday it already passed.
Yeah, it was probably last Friday 2 years ago, you mean. Do you have a particular day that you can attend? I'd sure like to have all 5 of you there, if possible, to attend a groundbreaking ceremony. I want to give you
What days are you
invitations.
throwing out?
Say again?
May, days in May?
Should be early part of May. I'm flexible. It doesn't have to be a specific. I can do whatever you guys, I'd like to have you there. I don't know if you have dates that you can help me with. Particular day of the week?
Mondays are the best for me.
The first week, the first, second, and third, I'm gone.
So maybe the following.
Fridays are all good from then on. In general, I can make it work, as long as it's not that first week.
Would you mind taking a look at your calendars, please, and emailing me and just give me a day, say this week, Friday, or Thursday?
I'll make it easy. I'll tell you any day.
That's great, thank you. I'd sure like to have each of you there, if possible.
You say you're not available, Matt, on the first day of the week, Mondays?
No, just the first week of May. I'm gone.
The week of Cinco de Mayo?
No, the first, second, and third, not the first full week, the first, second, and third.
We could have mariachis and everything and celebrate with the Cinco de Mayo.
Dr. Woodard, Mondays works best for me, but whatever day it is, I'll make sure.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll make sure.
Thank you.
And I'm available any day.
Okay, thank you.
Without.
So it's up to Mark and Matt, I mean, Mark and Mike.
No, Mike's any day.
Oh, anything, okay.
I'll email you on one day.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
It looks like I'm the cog in the
Yes.
whole thing here. I'll get you something.
Okay, thank you. Sooner the better, so I can get out invitations, I apologize. I'd like to get that going.
Okay, we voted on 11.5, right? All righty, then we're moving to 12.0, future agenda items. We have our traffic study. Has anybody, not that anybody has a lot of free time, has anybody been able to look at records and see whether there's an easement running?
We did, and I think Will has some information that he's just completed, and what I can do is, there's just been, I anticipated a lot more on the agenda tonight. We can put him on the agenda next. I think he's now finished with it and what the parameters of what he found, and I can have him give you a little report. He's not prepared tonight, but he has some documents, and we can put him on there next time. We're gonna put him on there, and we can kind of.
Just real quick, did we find a potentially workable easement?
Was there an easement that we found, Will? I don't remember. On the easement part, but you have some other stuff. Okay, so.
It's just a road easement. We're looking to find something to potentially utilize.
He was looking at different
To redirect traffic,
ideas. So.
All right, fair enough. Calendar, we have April 10th, May 8th, May 22nd. Is there any conversation about calendar? I'm not hearing any. Closed session.
Yeah.
We took no action in closed session to report out on. We did address the AATA ongoing negotiations, and that is it. And no vote to be taken in public, so we move to 15.0 adjournment. We have a move. Second.
This is the earliest.
We're going to adjourn at 8:19.
What am I going to do?